for scheduling, just so everyone knows a little more about where we're headed and what we're doing, there are 8 more sections and meetings included in this course on the Rasa dance chapters from Srimad Bhagavatam. We'll end the first week of April, which means there's 8 different sections and topics we'll discuss between now and then. Up until now, the entire study has been focused on the Rasa dance as it was narrated from the Srimad Bhagavatam, on the Prema Samhuta, Chaitanya Charitamrita, and other literatures, all focusing on the pastime of Krishna performing the Rasa Leela and subcategories of that event. From this moment on, we'll start to focus more on Lord Chaitanya's invitation to humanity to participate and partake in Radha Krishna's Leelas and serve them. May the Supreme Lord, who is known as the son of Srimati Sachi Devi, be transcendentally situated in the innermost chambers of your heart. Resplendent with the radiance of molten gold, he has appeared in this age of Kali by his causeless mercy to bestow what no incarnation has ever offered before, the most sublime radiant mellow of devotional service, the mellow of conjugal love. So there's something unique in Lord Chaitanya's appearance. And in order to educate humanity, devotees in human forms of life throughout the world, he empowered various followers, disciples, and acharyas to write books and live lives that demonstrate how jivas of this world and conditioned life can actually transport to the spiritual world to participate in Radha and Krishna's Leelas. So the next 8 lessons will be taken from those writings and topics so that we can discuss how we can perform bhajan and worship of Krishna with the intention of serving Radha and Krishna serving Krishna in the forests of Vrindavan. This is a brief explanation of how this topics connect to our previous studies. During our study in November, weeks 3 and 4, we read Ramananda Rai's glorification of Srimati Radharani, which concluded with his own verse from the Prema Vilasa Vivarta. You may remember that when Radharani left the Rasa dance, it was described by Jayadev Goswami that this act of Krishna leaving all the other gopis to go look for Srimati Radharani reveals how important she is. So Ramananda Roy had described Shantarasya, Dasya Rasa, Sakya Rasa, Vatsalya Rasa, Madhurya Rasa, Parakiya Rasa, and finally he came to this point of describing meeting Krishna in separation in his book Prema Vilasa Vivarta. Lord Chaitanya very much appreciated that, as we'll read now. So now we revert back to that section and pick up with Lord Chaitanya's appreciation of Ramananda Roy's presentation and his inquiring from Ramananda about the process of achieving what he calls the goal of human life. Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Lila, chapter 8, text 196 and 197. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu confirmed these verses from Prema Vilasa Vivarta recited by Ramananda Rai, saying, "Oh, this is the limit of the goal of human life. Only by your mercy have I come to understand it conclusively. The goal of life cannot be achieved unless one practices the process. Now, being merciful upon me, please explain that means by which this goal can be attained." Samapriya, we can have somebody else pick up from there. You have to unmute.
Hare Krishna, everyone. Welcome. Nice to see you here again, discussing these very deep internal topics. Let's start today with Acharya. Would you like to read?
Yes, I'd love to. Thank you. Text 198. Sri Ramananda Rai replied, I do not know what I am saying, but you have made me speak what I have spoken, be it good or bad. I am simply repeating that message. Within these three worlds, who is so undisturbed that he can remain steady as you manipulate your different energies? Actually, you are speaking through my mouth, and at the same time you are listening. This is very mysterious. Anyway, kindly hear the explanation of the process by which the goal can be attained. Purport. One should not hear anything about Krishna from a Vaishnava, however great a mundane scholar he may be. Milk touched by the lips of a serpent has poisonous effects. Similarly, talks about Krishna given by an Vaishnava are also poisonous. However, because a Vaishnava is surrendered to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, his talks are spiritually potent. In the Bhagavad Gita 10:10, the Supreme Lord says, to those who are constantly devoted to worshiping me with love, I give the understanding by which they can come to me. When a pure Vaishnava speaks, he speaks perfectly. How is this? His speech is managed by Krishna himself from within the heart. Srila Ramananda Rai accepts this benediction from Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Therefore, he admits that whatever he was speaking was not derived from his own intelligence. Rather, everything was coming from Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. According to the Bhagavad Gita 15:15, I am seated in everyone's heart, and from me come remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness. By all the Vedas I am to be known. Indeed, I am the compiler of Vedanta and the knower of the Vedas.
Okay. Well, let's have a little bit of this discussion. Then I wanted you to read the next section of that report. So how Prabhupada is stressing how important, a very important instruction here. Can you explain that a little bit?
I could summarize it, what Prabhupada was saying, how, Ramananda Roy is saying, you're actually speaking. I'm just a mouthpiece and you're speaking and you're also listening. So this is mysterious. And Prabhupada says, whenever a Vaishnava speaks, it's coming from Krishna within the heart. So that's what makes it perfect. And I think Prabhupada even said like that maybe more than once about his books and his purports, that he said, I'm not writing them, Krishna's writing them. So this is how, the relationship between Krishna and the devotee works.
I have a good one for you on that, Acharya. Go ahead.
Read that.
Every morning when I sit here to write my books, Krishna comes personally and dictates to me what to write. I simply take dictation from Krishna to write these books. Therefore, when I read them, even I learn something.
Hare
Wow.
Krishna. Prabhupada is Krishna's scribe.
Yeah.
Hare Krishna.
But I just want to throw in also that for that to happen, it's not that, it's all Krishna, it's coming from Krishna, but he does that in that way through really specially qualified devotees. So it's not that we forget the mouthpiece. A person like Ramananda Roy, a person like Srila Prabhupada, that's also as essential as Krishna's words.
Just like Sukadeva Goswami.
Yeah.
He made it sweeter.
Right, exactly. Right? Yes.
Nice. The same thing.
Yeah, perfect example. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Okay, so
Thank you.
read this next point, the end of the purport. Yeah.
All intelligence emanates from the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Supersoul within the heart of everyone. Non-devotees want to ask the Supreme Lord for sense gratification. Therefore, non-devotees come under the influence of Maya, the illusory energy. A devotee, however, is directed by the Supreme Personality of Godhead and comes over under the influence of Yoga Maya. Consequently, there is a gulf of difference between the statements made by a devotee and those made by a non-devotee.
Okay. So what do you have, Acharya, on that one?
Just that he's emphasizing the previous point and contrasting it.
And
That
different
when-
kinds of devotees.
Yeah.
What about hearing from different kinds of devotees? Is it all the same? Hearing from
Well,
any devotee?
No, well, it depends on the sincerity of the devotee. I mean, a lot of devotees who I know who are not on the standard of Prabhupada, but I have, pretty good faith in what they say, at least some of them. So everything has to be judged individually, I suppose.
Right.
But
We have to be a little discriminate.
yeah,
Discriminate our association.
yeah,
Because
absolutely.
actually, I mean, here I'm quoting Hiranyakasipu, association is crystallizing, and he was right.
Yeah.
So that's why Prabhupada made this all available to us. His speaking is even available. His books are available. So I often say, what would happen if there was different devotees who were giving lectures, different of our devotees, and Srila Prabhupada was also giving a lecture? Certainly all the devotees who were giving lectures, hopefully they would want to go and hear from Prabhupada. But what would we do,
Yeah. But Prabhupada would have his disciples give class
Yes,
also, and he would attend, and
That's true.
sometimes
That's
he
true.
would also relish the classes of the devotees.
Yes, that's true.
But to hear directly from someone like Prabhupada, the more transparent the via media, the more you're directly getting Krishna.
Yes. Why not take advantage of that?
Yeah, and he stresses it even more by in this
Yes.
section, by comparing it that the non-devotees are just talking nonsense,
Yes.
basically.
Hare Krishna.
Connecting this point to what I was kind of introducing at the beginning of our meeting, that Lord Chaitanya is inviting us to enter into the pastimes of Radha and Krishna and participate at whatever level or situation we are. So we can see here in the Bhagavad Gita, it says, Tesham satati yuktanam bhajatam pratipurvakam, dadami buddhi yogam tam, yena mama payantite, that the Lord gives the intelligence to one how to come to me. So here, Prabhupada's explaining, a devotee, however, is directed by the Supreme Personality of Godhead and comes under the influence of Yogamaya. Consequently, there's a gulf of difference between statements made by a devotee and those made by a non-devotee. So it's just a confirmation and an extension of that concept.
Hare Krishna. Okay, let's go on. And Thakur, I know that you're going to leave soon. Would you like to read, Thakur?
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Okay, so text 201.
Yes.
Yes, so Ramananda Roy continued. The pastimes of Radha and Krishna are very confidential. They cannot be understood through the melodies of servitude, fraternity, or parental affection. Actually, only gopis have the right to appreciate these transcendental pastimes, and only from them can these pastimes be expanded. Without the gopis, these pastimes between Radha and Krishna cannot be nourished. Only by their cooperation are such pastimes broadcast. It is their business to taste the mellows. Without the help of the gopis, one cannot enter into these pastimes. Only one who worships the Lord in the ecstasy of the gopis, following in their footsteps, can engage in the service of Sri Radha Krishna in the bushes of Vrindavan. Only then can one understand the conjugal love between Radha and Krishna. There is no other procedure for understanding this purport by Srila Prabhupada. The means of return home for going back to Godhead is devotional service, but everyone has a different taste in the Lord's service. One may be inclined to serve the Lord in service to that Dasya Ras, fraternity, Sakya Ras, or fraternal love, Vatsala Ras. But none of these can enable one to enter the service of the Lord in conjugal love. To attain such service, one has to follow in the footsteps of the gopis in the ecstasy of Saki, Bob. Then only can one understand the transcendental mellow of conjugal love. And the Udvala Nilamani Srila Rupa Goswami advised. One who expands the conjugal love of Krishna and his enjoyment among the gopis is called a Saki. Such a person is a confidential gopi in the conjugal affairs. Such assistants are the jewels in the form of Krishna's confidantes.
Oh, that's beautiful. Okay, so this is how we're going to do it. You have something to say?
Yes, so it is mentioned there that for one to understand the pastimes of Radha and Krishna, one has to go through the medium of the gopis because they're so intimate with those. They are the ones that arranges those pastimes in Radha and Krishna. Yes. So unless we go through those, then we cannot know the essence of those in the pastime between Radha and Krishna.
And we, okay, go on. And
Yes,
how can we go? I was going to say, how can we do that? Who is representing them to us now?
Srila Prabhupada and the acharyas, I would say that from
6 Goswamis too.
Yes.
Good. Yes. Yeah. Very, very good.
As I mentioned in the beginning of this particular section that we're studying now, and for the next 7 other sections, it's all taken from the books and teachings of those associates of Lord Chaitanya that left behind various instructions how we can perform bhajan. It's actually part of Lord Chaitanya's Gaudiya theology. It's not something made up. It's Lord Chaitanya taught it, and his disciples and followers have propagated it, expanded upon it. Just like Brahma, he heard 4 verses from Krishna at the beginning of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Then he spoke them to Narada, Narada to Vyasadeva, and the whole 18,000 verses came out of it. So it can be expanded unlimitedly. And fortunately, we have access to those because of Srila Prabhupada's work of bringing and introducing Vedic wisdom to the world.
Hare Krishna, thank you. Okay, shall we go on? Madan, would you like to read a little? Madan?
Okay.
Hare Krishna.
The actual business of the Shakis is described thus in the Ujjvala Nilamani. Thank you. In the conjugal pastimes of Krishna, okay, I have to expand a little bit. Krishna is the hero, Nayaka, and Radharani is the heroine, Nayika. The first business of the gopis is to chant the glories of both the hero and the heroine. The second business is to gradually create a situation in which the hero may be attracted to the heroine, and vice versa. The third business is to induce both of them to approach each other. Their fourth business is to surrender unto Krishna. And the fifth is to create a jovial atmosphere. The sixth is to give them assurance to enjoy their pastimes. The seventh, to dress and decorate both hero and heroine. In the eighth, to show expertise in expressing their desires. The ninth, to conceal the faults of the heroine. The 10th, to cheat their respective husbands and relatives. The 11th, to educate. The 12th, to enable both hero and heroine to meet at the proper time. The 13th is to fan both hero and heroine. The 14th, to sometimes reproach the hero and heroine. The 15th, to set conversation in motion, and the 16th is to protect the heroine and by various means.
Okay, so there you go. What can you say something about that, Madame?
Well, it's very interesting that they can put it there for us into 16 different analytical understandings of what they do. You know, I don't know if they were in order or if it was just listing them. Is there any way to know if it was prioritized or just a list?
Well, if you go through them, it's kind of practical that the first several of them are about introducing. Later on, later on, some of the things can mix back and forth. But here, where it says their first business is to sing the glories of both hero and heroine. Second is to gradually create a situation in which they're attracted to one another. Third is to induce both of them to approach. In other words, those are sequential. You can tell by the social behavior of them. The fourth is to introduce Krishna, and then create a jovial atmosphere, give them assurance to enjoy their pastimes, dress and decorate. You've read some of the books of the Goswamis? Does those activities bring any leelas to mind?
Not at this particular moment.
The trickery, the
Oh,
messages,
yeah.
the Jatilas, the Abhimanyus, the Madhu Mangals, the different events that take place, wherein all of them are engaged in orchestrating pleasure for the divine couple ultimately.
Actually, that's very nice. I'm going to read it again and I'll take a screenshot. This is still, we're in the 4th chapter, is it?
No, now we're on Madhya Lila chapter 8, Brahmananda Roy and Lord Chaitanya.
Okay, and how would you know the verse number that we're on?
Let's see, 204, 205.
Okay. Yeah, no, when I read this, I have to reread it a
Sure.
couple
Yeah,
times.
many times.
Yeah,
The more the better.
thank you.
Now we'll read about those people who didn't read. Go ahead, Sama.
Okay. Pushkar, would you like to read, Pushkar?
Am I on?
Yes.
Yes, you're on.
Okay. Let's see here. I'm on the phone. Some material sahajias. That's where we're at, right?
Yes, exactly.
Who cannot actually understand the pastimes of Radha Krishna manufacture their own lifestyles without referring to authority. Such sahajias are called Sakibeki, and sometimes they're called Gauranagari. They believe that material body which is fit to be eaten by jackals and dogs, and we can think of a few slokas like that. Second canto has one. Yeah.
Dogs, camels, and asses?
No, there's one that specifically says eaten by. It's 2:7 or something. It's the second. That one you're mentioning is in 2:3. But yeah. So anyway, yeah. Sashrigala Bakshe. Bakshe means to eat. Puffed up people who don't know anything.
Oh, I see. Right.
Yeah, can't remember the first 2 lines right now, but yeah. So I won't say anything till the end if I'm going to say anything, right?
Yeah, okay. Good. Read.
Is jackals and dogs. At the end of the Madhya Lila, the last shloka, Tadidam Ati Rahasyam Goralilam Ratam Yat Nalabyate. It says Kala Samudra Kola Nadatam. He says people who don't appreciate the pastimes of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as I've presented them, they are just envious like hogs and dogs, pigs.
Very good.
Anyway, so Nalabyate, they won't get it. So that's their punishment. He says that's a specific punishment. I'm getting a little pleasure out of that because I don't have to really say anything bad. Their punishment is that they can't appreciate the pastimes. That's all.
Remember the camel? Also, he was very happy about that the camel, he won't understand it either. So how glorious is that, right?
Right. So he's including all those persons. He just happened to, when you write a shloka, you can't put all the other shlokas in it. So he will just see the last shloka of the Madhya Lila, 25th chapter. Anyway, okay.
Okay, go on reading consequently.
Attract Krishna. They artificially decorate the material body to attract Krishna, thinking themselves Shaktis. But Krishna is never attracted by the artificial grooming of the material body. As far as Srimati Radharani and her gopis are concerned, their bodies, homes, dresses, ornaments, endeavors, and activities are all spiritual. All of these are meant to satisfy the spiritual senses of Krishna. Indeed, they are so pleasing and endearing to Krishna that he is subjugated by the influence of Srimati Radharani and her friends. They have nothing to do with anything mundane within the 14 planetary systems of the universe. Although Krishna is attractive to everyone, he's nonetheless attracted by the gopis and Srimati Radharani. So,
Okay. You want to read the next section and then comment? Read the next little section.
Okay, I'll read more. Let me see if I can.
Yeah, and then we can discuss.
My hands are all gooky from painting here. One should not be misled by mental concoctions, supposing his material body to be perfect and deeming oneself a Saki. This is something like Ahangrahopashana, that is, Mayavadi's worship of his own body as the supreme. Srila Jiva Goswami has cautioned mundaners to abstain from such conceptions. He also warns that thinking oneself one of the associates of the supreme without following in the footsteps of the gopis is as offensive as thinking oneself the supreme. Such thinking is an aparad. One has to practice living in Vrindavan by hearing about the talks of the gopis with Krishna. However, one should not consider himself a gopi, for this is offensive. So therefore, we have the famous verse by Lord Chaitanya, Gopi Bhartu Pati Kamala Udasana. Prabhupada was quoting the verse also several times. He can say exaggerated, emphasized this by saying dasa, 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 100 times. Not even said 100 times, but he didn't say it 100 times, but he said the extra dasas, like servant of the 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 servant. That's the only way to track. So
unmute, Patsy, unmute.
Huh?
Do you know anything about the Gauranga Nagaris or the Sakibakis? Sakibakis?
Bakis these are two of the 13 or 14 Upasampradayas. I personally don't consort with them, but I did visit Pandu, who is an avowed, proud, he's not a Sakibaki per se. Some people say sometimes he is, but he definitely proud to say he's a Gauranga, and that he even told me, it's funny. I mean, it's funny, but I mean, Pandu has lived in Mayapur since 79. He hasn't left. He was there before that, but he permanently embedded himself. I don't even think he left India since then. And he must have done something good because he's got his property right on the Ganga and the Jalangi there. So I went to see him for lunch. It must have been 2009. And he pointed out in his temple room, it's not a big temple room, but he has the manuscripts. You know, he knows fluent Bengali, translates, I think maybe some Sanskrit. Anyway, he had these manuscripts, and he didn't show me the exact, but he pointed up at them. And he said, you see these, Pushkar? Rupa and Sanatana Goswami didn't even have access to these manuscripts.
Oh, boy.
Because, you know, they don't expound on this. Gauranga Nagari means literally that Gauranga is the enjoyer, but he's come as an enjoyer. He's come as Radharani, who's not the enjoyer. But he says he does exhibit his philosophy. He has paintings to prove it. He has one painting, or more than one, where he shows Gadadhar morphing into
Oh, no.
and they're both, and then Krishna like that.
Rasavas.
So he's definitely fully into it, and that, yeah, I guess the manuscripts, there is some, we know there, anyone who heard that there is some manuscripts, and they ascribe something which we don't even know. I haven't traced it out, but Narhari Sakar was the guru of who is it now, famous Lochan Das Thakur, and that he had some conjugal, this is what they claim, the Gauranga Nagaris, you know, that Lochan enjoyed with Vishnu Priya, Lakshmi Priya, and with Gadadhar, and maybe not fully, but
I think it's a good time to insert a little historical overview. Lord Chaitanya appeared in 1486 and left in 1533. Then the Bhakti Ratnakara is a book by Narahari Sakar that describes the next generation, Narottam Srivas, Srinivas, and Narottam and Shyamananda bringing the books and various pastimes all throughout that second generation. Go ahead.
Narahari Sakar is the first.
Narahari Tirtha, which Narahari wrote Bhakti
Who wrote-
Ratnakara.
Yeah, I thought Narahari Chakravarti wrote the book.
Ah.
Or no, wrote the book, but he's too late. He comes after Lochandas Thakur. So whoever wrote the book comes after, whichever Narahari it is. Then there's Narahari Adhikari, who
Oh,
fans
he was associate of Lord Chaitanya.
Yeah.
This wasn't that one.
is the one that
This is what we're doing is just trying to show how after the second generation, it says in the Bhagavad Gita, Yogo Nashta Param Pata, that the teachings become lost, they become degraded, they become perverted. And from the 1600s, a little bit later, mid 1600s, all the way up until Vishwanath Chakrabarti Thakur, practically speaking, 200 years, there's 150 years. This is when the Saki Bekis, Gaur Nagaris, interpretations of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's teachings started to manifest throughout Bengal and seeped its way into various places beyond that, until Bhaktivinoda Thakur in 1800s came and pointed out the fallacies in those 13 opera sampradayas to bring them to light. Bhaktisiddhanta further and elaborated on why they're opera sampradayas, and a lot of that is in the Chaitanya Charitamrita purports, until finally Srila Prabhupada came. We in the West don't have any real access to that. But if you live in Bengal, one time we went to the Panihati festival, and it was like a Woodstock festival of all the Gaudiya lineages, all of them. There was men dressed up like ladies dancing throughout the crowd, and everybody respected everybody else as followers at that particular time, but it's not that they appreciate each other's philosophies, as we're reading here. Just wanted to give a little overview of that for those that might not know it. Sami, you want to unmute and keep going?
Yeah, okay. I want to address one thing. Acharya put up a question about the previous verse about education, how the gopis educated Radha and Krishna, and he asked if Mukunda would know the answer for that, or if anyone knows the answer. What kind of education, Mukunda, you?
Yeah,
savvy to that?
sometimes Vishaka and Lalita will give knowledge about different kinds of mature conjugal dealings to Radhika in dealing with Krishna. Like Lalita may tell, don't be very anxious. Like even in going to Ras Leela, sometimes she'll say, don't go first. You should come later. Treat yourself as special. Or sometimes she'll give instruction that if Radhika is in Man, she will say, don't be so strong that Krishna goes away and doesn't come back. Only show something. So they give her instructions.
Nice
in that mode
examples,
because
perfect.
Lalita's a little bit older, so she gives. And then Vishaka gives, like, they're like almost twins. They're born on the same day, practically. So they're all born on the same day. So she may give other advice, how to do this, that.
I see. That's good. Thank you. Okay, Acharya, does that help you?
Yeah, thank you very much for explaining that.
Yeah, that's beautiful. All right. Okay, now we got to go back. And, oh goodness, where are we? Acharya, why don't you continue reading?
Okay. Everyone already read?
Yeah. looks
Okay.
like it.
Text
I think so.
205.
Wait a minute. Mukunda, did you read? No, I'm
I think
sorry.
a few people didn't read yet.
Oh, I'm
Let's let
sorry.
them go first,
Oh,
okay?
where are we?
206.
206. I'm sorry. I
All right.
get very confused lately. Okay, Mukunda ji.
Mhm. The pastimes of Radha and Krishna are self-effulgent. They are happiness personified, unlimited and all-powerful. Even so, the spiritual humors such pastimes are never complete without the gopis, the Lord's personal friends. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is never complete without his spiritual potencies. Therefore, unless one takes shelter of the gopis, one cannot enter into the company of Radha and Krishna. Who can be interested in their spiritual pastimes without taking their shelter? This is a quote from Govinda Lilamrita. There is an inexplicable fact about the natural inclinations of the gopis. The gopis never want to enjoy themselves with Krishna personally. The happiness of the gopis increases 10 million times when they serve to engage Sri Radha and Krishna in their transcendental pastimes.
Go on.
By nature, Srimati Radharani is just like a creeper of love of Godhead. And the gopis are the twigs, flowers, and leaves of that creeper. When the nectar of Krishna's pastimes is sprinkled on that creeper, the happiness derived by the twigs, flowers, and leaves is 10 million times greater than that derived from the creeper itself. Purport. And as Amrita Pravaha Vasya Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur states, Srimati Radharani is the creeper of love of Godhead, and the gopis are exactly like twigs, flowers, and leaves. When water is sprinkled on the creeper, the twigs, flowers, and leaves indirectly receive all the benefits of the creeper itself. But water sprinkled exactly on the twigs, leaves, and flowers is not as effective as water sprinkled on the creeper's root. The gopis are not as pleased when they directly mix with Krishna as they serve to unite Srimati Radharani with Krishna. Their transcendental pleasure lies in uniting them.
Okay, why don't you, this is a beautiful purport. Why don't you give some explanation of that, Mukundaji?
Yeah, those, all the Sakis of Radhika, her Swapaks they're called, they're leaning, even those who are like Lalita Visakha and others, who can meet with Krishna independently, they don't want to do so. They would rather Radhika meet. Sometimes Radhika will give instructions to Lalita, Visakha, and the other Astasakis and even Priyasakis. You should also meet with Krishna. Under Radhika's order, they may also meet with Krishna for Radhika's pleasure. But the Manjaris, they never will meet with Krishna independently. Their only desire is that Radhika will meet with Krishna. They have no desire for meeting with him independently. So these are two kinds of moods. One is called Sambhog Ichmayi, and one is called Tat Tat Bhav Ichmayi. So Tat Tat Bhav Ichmayi means we exclusively want the vicarious relationship, never a direct relationship. And in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, it gives the direct definition of Manjaris is just that.
You know, we were discussing this point before, and an example can be given that when devotees are on the altar doing puja, they are only thinking of serving the deity, dressing the deity, putting the flowers and the ornaments and everything, and they're all working together to do that. They're not thinking it. So you can see that direct service to the Lord, or service to the spiritual master. This is the thing that actually the Dasanu 100 times removed. That's the thing that really gives one the taste of love, of prema. I thought that was we were discussing that before. So that's one example. Can someone bring up another example that actually we have in our neophyte stage, perhaps experienced through our service? Anyone?
I was going to mention before about all these 16, what were they, various things going on. You probably could find them very much in the Mukta Charita.
Yes.
So many pastimes, intrigues, gopis capturing Krishna, and I haven't read in a while, but it's extremely entertaining and it's full of all kinds of things, cursing and joking, and very amazing pastimes.
I want to ask you a question just about the previous thing, Pushkar. When you did a painting, sometimes you did a painting with other devotees. Some devotees did the faces, some did the trees, and some did different parts of the of the painting. Is that true?
But usually not on very intimate paintings. We did, Bhagavatam paintings. Before I got to the art department, there was an assembly line where Radharani and Muralidhar would basically assist Bhardwaj. They're experts, but he was very expert still at conceptualizing, like those
So-
Krishna 2 and 3. The Krishna book 1 painting was Muralidhar and Radharani generally, and Devahuti, she did her portion. And in my opinion, she probably better than they were. But when they all got together in Boston finally, and Bhardwaj took charge, or Prabhupada suggested because he could quickly conceive of paintings. So that they had this
Okay.
3 people doing that. So by the time I got there, they were doing their own paintings, and they started
I
the Gita.
see.
through the
I
Gita.
see.
So
But they worked together. They did. I'm just trying to see an example where devotees are working together for the main purpose of satisfying Srila Prabhupada and serving Krishna.
yeah, they got along. I mean, Devahuti didn't. She was older, and Prabhupada asked them. I mean, I've asked them about it because there's several letters where Prabhupada said that Devahuti is older. You need to give her space. You need to give her. I don't know if she had written to Prabhupada anyway. So she left that group. She couldn't work in that atmosphere.
Okay, that's there too. Actually, everyone's an individual. But
She was She was almost 20 years older than most everybody.
yeah, that's true. Okay,
Ah,
thank you, and thank you, Mukunda. Shall we go on reading, Patti?
sure,
Okay. Do you want to read?
sure.
Okay, and then Acharya.
All the gopis, the personal friends of Srimati Radharani, are equal to her. Krishna is pleasing to the inhabitants of Brajabhumi, just as the moon is pleasing to the lotus flower. His pleasure-giving potency is known as Haladini, of which the active principle is Srimati Radharani. She is compared to a creeper with newly grown flowers and leaves. When the nectar of Krishna's pastimes is sprinkled on Srimati Radharani, all her friends, the gopis, immediately appreciate that pleasure 100 times more than if they were sprinkled themselves. Actually, this is not at all wonderful. From the Govinda Lilamrita 10:16. Although the gopis, Srimati Radharani's friends, do not desire to enjoy themselves directly with Krishna, Srimati Radharani makes a great endeavor to induce Krishna to enjoy himself with the gopis. Presenting various pleas for the gopis, Srimati Radharani sometimes sends the gopis to Krishna, just to enable them to associate with him directly. At such times, she enjoys a happiness 10 million times greater than that enjoyed through direct association. So it's a dynamic of the Haladini Shakti that's being narrated. Next.
Wait a second, but also when we see other people serving Krishna, we see that
Oh, that's
sometimes
nice.
during Damodar Astikam. It's a good opportunity to see all the devotees going up and offering their light, their flame to Krishna and Krishna and Balaram. And you see the devotion that every person has in their individual way. They're praying to Krishna. I thought that's a nice example of appreciating the service of others. Okay. Acharya-ji, want to read? A couple of them.
Text 214. The transcendental mellow is nourished by that mutual behavior in transcendental love of Godhead. When Lord Krishna sees how the gopis have developed pure love for him, he becomes very satisfied. Purport. Srimati Radharani and the gopis are not interested in their personal happiness derived from association with Krishna. Rather, they become happy by seeing one another associate with Krishna. In this way, their dealings are further nourished by love of Godhead, and seeing this, Krishna is very pleased.
Go on.
Text
Yeah.
215. It is to be noted that the natural characteristic of the gopis is to love the Supreme Lord. Their lusty desire is not to be compared to material lust. Nonetheless, because their desire sometimes appears to resemble material lust, their transcendental love for Krishna is sometimes described as lust. Purport. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur says that material lust should never be attributed to Krishna, who is full of transcendental knowledge. Material lust cannot be engaged in the service of the Lord, for it is applicable to materialists, not to Krishna. Only prema, or love of Godhead, is applicable for the satisfaction of Krishna. Excuse me. Prema is full service rendered unto the Lord. The lusty affairs of the gopis actually constitute the topmost love of Godhead, because the gopis never act for their own personal satisfaction. They are simply pleased by engaging other gopis in the service of the Lord. The gopis derive more transcendental pleasure from indirectly engaging other gopis in the service of Krishna than from engaging in his service themselves. That is the difference between material lust and love of Godhead. Lust applies to the material world, and love of Godhead applies only to Krishna.
Wow, that's beautiful purport. Can you say something about that, Acharyaji?
Yeah, it's really beautiful. And we all know this, and I think maybe it was, I don't know, a week ago or something, we read that how kama is like iron and prema is like gold, and they're not the same thing. But this is adding another sort of angle of it, that it's not just the devotee is trying to please Krishna, but the devotee, part of that is also the devotee getting other devotees to go forward
Exactly.
and engage with Krishna.
Yeah.
That's such a beautiful aspect of it,
Yeah.
that bringing that out. I really,
Good.
really like that.
That's beautiful. I remember that used to be the preaching in the Sankirtan, for the Sankirtan devotees, that this is very pleasing to Krishna to recruit other souls to serve and
Yeah.
become established in their eternal relationship with Krishna. And that very, very important. Prabhupada was very pleased and we became enlightened just going out and collecting. I mean, so of course, great enthusiasm, youthful enthusiasm. There's nothing stopped us to go out and to recruit souls to take shelter of Krishna
Right.
and Srila Prabhupada.
And Prabhupada himself, when he saw the devotees, advancing nicely and preaching nicely and behaving nicely, he was so happy. And when it
Yeah.
didn't happen, it was, so saddening, or I don't know how he felt, but
Well, what
exactly.
didn't happen?
When the devotees didn't advance nicely or didn't behave nicely or didn't do nicely, but when they did, it was such a source of pleasure to him.
He was very encouraging to everyone, even someone who was not doing nicely. I only heard one pretty much, or maybe two, of situations where Prabhupada got really angry and rejected, but he was so facilitating and wanting everyone to stay with him. Very, very selfless and facilitating. That's
Right.
Jagat Guru. Hare Krishna, thank you. All right, we're coming toward the end here. Mukunda, Mukunda, why don't you read a little, and then Pushkar.
We are at 217.
Keep painting. Get somebody.
What? 216.
216. Okay, I can see it now. Although the dealings of the gopis with Krishna on the platform of pure love of Godhead, such dealings are sometimes considered to be lusty. But because they are completely spiritual, Uddhav and all of the dearmost devotees of the Lord desire to participate in them. I quoted this verse last week, Premaiva Goparamanam Kamamityang Mapatam. So that's that verse in Sanskrit, and Bhakti Rasmina sings it. Lusty desires are experienced when one is concerned with his own personal sense gratification. The mood of the gopis is not like that. Their only desire is to satisfy Krishna. Among the gopis, there's not a pinch of desire for sense gratification. Their only desire is to give pleasure to Krishna. And this is why they mingle with him and enjoy with him. All the gopis said, "Dear Krishna, we carefully hold your delicate lotus feet upon our hard breasts. When you walk in the forest, your lotus feet are prickled by small bits of stone. We fear this is paining you. Since you are our life and soul, our minds are very much disturbed when your lotus feet are being pained. So this is the Vasikrita verse in
Yeah,
Srimad Bhagavatam. Yate Sujata Charanam Buddhanam Staneshu. It's the
right.
last verse of Gopi Geet.
Yeah, we came across this a few times in our study of the Ratsa Lila.
Mhm.
Do you have anything else to say about this?
Yeah, this is an important point. And Chaitanya Charitamrita also is mentioned there. Atma Sukha Deke Gopiyo Nakareli Vichar, that the gopis have no self-interest whatsoever. And actually, the second verse of Srimad Bhagavatam explains that the real adhikar to understand Bhagavatam, Paramo Nimatsaranam Satam, means that only if you have no self-interest will you really glean the essence of what Bhagavatam is. It will help anybody in any position. But if you want to get the full deep meaning of Bhagavatam, person has to be Dharma Protita Kaita Vatra Paramo Nir Matsaranam Satam. So in Sanskrit, Matsarya means envy, but the acharyas explain that the context here is Nir Matsaranam means don't have self-interest, only the interest of pure bhakti. Then you can get the full meaning of Srimad Bhagavatam.
So why is it called lust sometimes?
Because it appears like it's lust because of the conjugal dealings. But because in the material world, all conjugal dealings are based in self-interest, it is completely different from the interest that the gopis have in conjugal dealings because they only want Krishna's pleasure. Like Kubja, it's called Sadharani Rati.
That was a good point.
Krishna reciprocated with her because she didn't have desire to associate with anyone else. She was Surpanakar in her previous life. So she only wanted to have Krishna. Therefore, Krishna accommodated her under Yayatamam Prapajante. But her love is not even considered by the acharyas to be love. It's called Sadharani Rati. But it's exclusive to Krishna. But the gopis' love is called Samarita Rati because it's only based in Krishna's happiness. And that last verse of Gopi Geet, Yate Sujata Charanam Buddhanam Staneshu, is such a high class of verse because it expresses that even though you would be happy by placing your feet on our hearts, we feel that it may cause you pain. So it's a kind of very deep meaning here because one of the definitions of Mahabhav is Kina Tat Sukam Api Atri Sankaya. That even though a person is happy, you love them so much, you doubt whether they're happy. You're serving them, and even though they're happy, a doubt comes in your mind, maybe I'm causing them unhappiness.
Yeah, that's like a mother. Or that's
Yeah.
Or a lover. You sure you're happy? Can I do something else?
Yeah, exactly.
That's a interesting.
That's it, right on the head. Yeah. The love becomes so strong, you're wondering, are they actually happy by what I'm doing?
Right.
But then when Krishna saw that, then Tasamavya Bacha Charismaya Manabakambo, he immediately reappeared. Because that verse inspired that, their love has reached such a level, I can no longer keep hiding.
Yeah, right. I cannot. No. What is it? Napariyam.
Napariyam Nirvadistam.
Pariyam. Yeah. Pariyam. Okay. We have one more verse. Pushkar, did you want one more?
I think he wanted to paint.
No, it's getting dark.
Okay. Why don't you go on?
Let me just give the screen a chance to clear. One who is attracted to the ecstatic love of the gopis does not care about popular opinion or regulative principles of Vedic life. Rather, he completely surrenders unto Krishna and renders service unto him. If one worships the Lord on the path of spontaneous love and goes to Vrindavan, he receives the shelter of Rajendra Nandan, the son of Nanda Maharaj. Purport. In all the 64 items listed for the rendering of service unto Krishna, and these are the regulative principles enjoined in Sastra and given by the spiritual master. One has to serve Krishna according to these regulative principles. But if one develops spontaneous love for Krishna as exhibited in the activities of those who live in Brajabhumi, one attains the platform of Raga Nuga Bhakti. One who has developed this spontaneous love is eligible for elevation to the platform enjoyed by the inhabitants of Brajabhumi. In Brajabhumi, there are no regulative principles set forth for Krishna's service. Rather, everything is carried out by spontaneous natural love for Krishna. There is no question of following principles of the Vedic system. Such principles are followed within this material world, and as long as one is in the material, on the material platform, he has to execute them. However, spontaneous love of Krishna is transcendental. It may seem that the regular principles are being violated, but the devotees on the transcendental platform, such service is called gunatit. Literally, guna means quality, atit means beyond, or state of being beyond, or nirgun, for they are not contaminated by the three modes of material nature. So maybe we could leave this up, because it's a really important point that sometimes devotees believe that in the practice of Raga Nuga Sadhan, that you don't have to follow rules and regulations. But that's not really what Srila Prabhupada is speaking about in the purport here. He's saying that we're not obliged to the rules and regulations as the object or goal for us. If you want to go to Vaikuntha, the path of following Vaidhi Marg is the sadhana to obtain Vaikuntha. On the other hand, you cannot obtain Vrindavan by following Vidhi as your goal. So Vidhi means rules and regulations. But if you're practicing Raganuga Bhakti, it doesn't mean you don't go to Mangalarti, you don't have to accept Guru, you don't have to chant rounds because I'm doing Raganuga Bhakti. Because the verse says, Shravanam Kirtanandini Vaidhi Bhakti Sudanti too. Even for those following Raganuga Sadhan, they follow the regulative principles that are mentioned in Sastra, but their goal in following them is to obtain Braj.
Okay, so now on that point, in Bhakti Aloka of Bhakti Vinod Thakur, and many things that even in this purport, sometimes, or as an example, and I'd like to know what you think about this. We have so many, we are brought up with so many rules and regulations in our devotional service, and it might come to a point where following one will inhibit your service. Following what, not the rules, not giving up our sadhana and giving up our chanting and breaking the principles. I'm not talking about basic nourishment. Mm-hmm. I'm talking about following some things that we would like to, but they're inhibiting. They're inhibiting your spontaneous attraction to serve Krishna.
Because we've talked about it. Maybe just give a little bit of clarity from another point of view. If one's attracted to particular services, but the rules and regulations of the temple program inhibit one from becoming fully absorbed in that type of service that one's attracted to, then Bhakti Aloka talks about how one can give up those other practices because a taste is awakening for a particular practice. And they actually become, what did it say, Swami?
Niyamagraha.
It becomes like a shackle. It becomes like an attachment.
Niyamagraha, following the rules and regulations without really, what was it? Understanding
only for the sake of following.
Only for the sake of it.
Yeah.
So we have to understand the basic principle behind all the rules and regulations of bhakti is to bring us to the point of we'll have some attraction and love for Krishna to bring us to a spontaneous level of love. So sometimes I kind of go through a battle in my own Krishna consciousness because I'm not young enough to do them all now. I've done them all together, but now it gets a little to choose which one.
There are some things which may be more tasteful for a devotee to do. But for instance, the core principles like taking Harinam, chanting Diksha mantras, hearing Harikatha, those are not things that we can abandon.
We don't want to abandon. Actually.
We don't want to. Actually, you'll increase. But Rupa Goswami gave very definitive things that certainly can be given up, like the performance of opulent sacrifices and yajnas, like meditation on Dwarka as being separate from Vrindavan. He gave very special ones that can be given up. In fact, they should be given up when you enter the path of Raganuga Bhakti. Another big question is whether or not we're on that path. If Srila Prabhupada established primarily the deities of either Radha and Krishna, Krishna Balarama, Jagannath Baladev, or even Gaur Nitai, the worship itself is Raganuga Bhakti. Before we become mature, in
Wait a minute,
genuine-
wait a minute, wait a minute.
Mhm.
That the worship of the deity is actually following the rules and regulations to the T. That's what the worship. You can't speculate on that.
He's pointing out that it's Radha Krishna, Krishna
Right.
Balaram, Jagannath
and
Baladev. It's
he
not
also
Lakshmi Narayan. It's not Sitaram.
Exactly.
Well,
So the
he's
mantras
also
being
said,
the mantras being used, the
Right,
form
right.
of service being employed in the seva of the puja, which you're right, has to be that's Vaidhi Bhakti, but it's Vaidhi Bhakti with a Raganuga flavor.
yeah.
Because
Also,
Raganuga-
Prabhupada also said that
It's meant to awaken Radha Krishna Bhav.
Exactly.
but he said that the worship that's going on in the temple is worship of Lakshmi.
Lakshmi Narayan. But I actually
Lakshmi
saw that. I
Narayan.
actually heard from someone. Srila Prabhupada said the standard should be like Lakshmi Narayan because he was making a reference to temples like in South India or the Radharaman temple in Vrindavan, where punctuality,
Yeah,
cleanliness,
flowers,
and all of those things should be very high standard. And the opulence of what you can offer being in the West, we shouldn't think like in India because they may have more meager means in some situations, right? That we can do like that. So he was saying in that way it should be opulent like Lakshmi Narayan, but the mood should not be like Lakshmi Narayan.
Obviously, his teachings don't teach that.
So this is called Raganuga Pravritti, like you were saying, Drew, but that's what
Okay.
the technical name is.
Let's just kind of tie it up into a bow. Read this again, Mukunda, beginning with this here.
One who has developed this spontaneous love is eligible for elevation to the platform enjoyed by the residents of Brajabhumi. You want me to keep going?
Yeah, the end of the purport's okay.
Okay, in Brajabhumi, there are no regulative principles set forth for Krishna service. Rather, everything is carried out spontaneous, natural love for Krishna, in natural love for Krishna. There is no question of following the principles of the Vedic system. Such principles are followed within this material world. And as long as one is on the material platform, he has to execute them. However, spontaneous love of Krishna is transcendental. It may seem that the regulative principles are being violated, but the devotee on the transcendental
The
platform,
devotee is on the platform.
the
transcendental.
devotee is on the transcendental platform. Such service is called gunatit or nirgun, means beyond the gunas, for it is not contaminated by the three modes of material nature.
of course, it's a process. It's a process.
Certainly.
It's a process.
Yeah.
But that is the goal, to become spontaneously attracted to Krishna. It doesn't mean that we give up the high quality of service that Srila Prabhupada has taught us.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean that we do that. It means that we perform it in spontaneity.
Yeah.
You know?
Also, you can see in Banka Bihari Temple and Radharaman
Yeah.
Temple, I learned my worship of Shalagram from Vishnu Goswami and Radharaman. Yeah, very high class standard.
Radharaman is the highest standard.
Yeah, and Srila Prabhupada wanted us to have that
Yes.
standard.
Yeah.
But Srila Prabhupada, if he came to the West in the very beginning and established deities of Lakshmi Narayan, would we have known any different?
No, we would not have known any different.
So he established Radha Krishna, Gaurnitai, Jagannath Baladev, because they're all related to the mood of Braj or Navadvip Dham.
Yeah.
So our
Navadvip.
practice as a whole is geared towards Vrindavan.
And I want to end with this verse that we just read the purport to. It's an instruction by Ramananda Roy. Again, he's speaking to Lord Chaitanya about how one can follow a path leading to that service. If one worships the Lord on the path of spontaneous love and goes to Vrindavan, he receives the shelter of Rajendanandana, the son of Nanda Maharaj. Jai Sri Krishna.
Jai Shri
Sham.
Krishna. Radhe Shyam. Krishna Balaram.
Jai.
Hare Krishna. Okay, anything else? That was beautiful. Anyone else have something to add to this nectar, Chariji? Nothing, Pushkar?
Just thinking of, I can't say I had a discussion, but I should say prominent Prabhupada disciple. He gave a class a couple years back, and he stressed how we probably wanted us to worship in the mood of Lakshmi Narayan, right? Okay, so it was emphasized. And then the next day, because he usually comes and goes quick, I caught him and I said, so Prabhupada gave those instructions. I mean, I was around just after they started deity worship in 1970, and we heard that, yeah. Even though we didn't know much, okay, Lakshmi Narayan, we got the idea. Opulence, don't artificially jump. So here we are, like say, we had this discussion 2 years, 24 maybe, and you're like 50.
Uh-huh.
Anyway, the next day he folded up. He had some things that he printed out. You could guess who this is. Printed out 4 references, 2 from 1969 and 2 from 1970, that we should worship in this mood. And probably that's about all you could get. He got them all. And he peremptorily just handed me those and walked away because he doesn't like to argue, And but it's like, do you really think every single person is from 55 years ago? I couldn't conceive that he would think that everyone is still on that level. That that Nagna Matrika Nyaya, the mother went naked as a baby, or they were still babies. I mean,
Yeah, right.
So some people have this fear, and I feel like I have it too in a way, because newer devotees, newer artists, right? They'll paint. Of course, they're criticized too. Sometimes they're painting the gopis, and it kind of looks too senior purple. That is not right. What do you think, Pushkar? You were there when I get a lot of this because you were there. Do you think these gopis look too lusty, too half naked, do this, do that? And I'm like, but we were taught a healthy, I guess, fear of doing it, so much so that to this day, I'm a little bit, reticent the way I paint gopis.
Well, I don't think that's a bad thing. We're very.
Yeah.
When I was doing puja a long time ago, dressing Rukmini Dwarkadish, and somehow I always dressed him like Krishna with a bride's robe. I don't know why, but that's where it was really spoken about, that our worship has to be. Or that Prabhupada established it like that because we weren't on the level to understand anything.
They were the first deities, Radha Krishna deities. So yeah, it was
Oh,
bound.
really? Rukmini Dwarkadish?
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, yeah.
Really?
That name that was suggested by Jai Tirtha.
Yeah, I was there. Yeah.
Yeah, that was suggested by Jai Tirtha initially.
Because they thought LA was going to go into the water, so they named it. Prabhupada named it New Dwarka. Is that the real
No.
reason?
Jai Tirtha asked him, "Can we name them like that because it's opulent?" I mean, there's nothing compared to the temples we have now, but it was in those days considered more opulent. So Rukmini Dwarkadish, like that. So probably along with it. In fact, yesterday I heard a lecture in LA, and at the end, Prabhupada said, "Well, glory to Rukmini Dwarkadish." So
Really? How wonderful!
yeah, I can't remember if
There
it
was a name before that, wasn't there, Pushkar?
Huh?
And then Jai
Radha
Tirtha
Govinda.
suggested
There was.
that.
I think they had already decided to call them Rukmini Dwarkadish, but there was talk of Radha Govinda previously. Do you remember
Some
that?
other name. Other name, I thought.
when I joined, it was just Radha Krishna. I didn't hear any Rukmini. In 1970, they only had the temple 4, 5, 6 months. I don't know.
To be continued, Prabhus.
Better err on the side of caution.
Uh,
Yeah, I think
Okay. Jai.
Vanchakalpatavista, Kripasindhudevacha, Patitanam
Titanam
Bhagadev,
Pavanebhyo
Vaishnavibhyo.
Vaishnavibhyo. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.